You're on Compass FM. We'd like to welcome into the studio this afternoon. Very great pleasure to have Allan Griggs from the Huranui District Council. Good afternoon, Allan. And Chris Field from the Waimakariri District Council, both emergency management officers for their respective councils. And we're talking about the tsunami. I always get that one, trying to say the T and the S at the same time. Tsunami Know Your Zones. Now, we've had a review, and obviously the tsunami zones have been reviewed and changed. Well, why has this review been done? And who undertook the review, Allan?
Kia ora, Bruce. Thank you very much for that. Thanks very much for having us here. Who undertook the review? The review was undertaken by GNS Science, which stands for Geophysical and Nuclear Sciences, which is a Crown entity that undertakes a lot of this sort of science research. So they're the WHO. Environment Canterbury commissioned them to do this study as part of an ongoing body of work to map tsunami inundation zones across large parts of the Canterbury coast.
Well, yeah, very important as well, of course, because as we were saying off air, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So which areas specifically have been re-looked at?
So in this particular body of work that we're looking at today, it's pretty much been from the Waimakariri River through to what we call the Waipara Rocks, which is just north of the Waipara River.
So quite a large area to cover, isn't it?
It is.
So a significant review. Now, can you tell us about the review? And of course, there's colour zones, isn't there? How do they work?
Yeah, that's correct. So if we look first at what the science is based from, the scientists looked at all of the potential tsunami sources around the Pacific Ocean that have large enough upthrust earthquakes that can push the water to create a tsunami. So they look at the potential size of the earthquakes, how much earth those earthquakes might move, in turn how much water the earth might move, and that gives them the potential strength size of a tsunami. And then from there they model it across as it moves across the ocean and hits our coastline. And then with the aid of LiDAR, which is like laser elevation finding science, which we now have, they've been able to model far more accurately than we had in the past just how far inland, how high and how much velocity those tsunami might have, which has given us some really, really good data to relook at our tsunami evacuation zones. Now those zones, we have three particular zones. We have a red zone, which is pretty much right at the coastline and the immediate shore, beaches, estuaries and rivers and so on. Then we have an orange zone, which is inland from the red zone, and that's an area that any sort of reasonable size tsunami we would look to have inundation from that tsunami. And then we have yellow zones, which are set further back, and it would take a significant size tsunami to get to those yellow zones. So the real messaging for the people here is that if you're in a red or an orange zone and there's a long, strong earthquake, you need to evacuate immediately. Don't wait for official warnings. The only warning you're likely to get from a long, strong earthquake, which would create a tsunami close to us, is to leave immediately.
Okay. Do we? I mean, obviously these modellings have been also based on tsunamis that would potentially have come to us from out to sea, or even because we know that we're affected by earthquakes which occur on the other side of the Pacific
Absolutely.
Ocean. So yeah, that's significant.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are three main sort of categories of tsunami. We've got near source tsunami, which are created quite locally within an hour's travel time from us. Then we have regional source tsunami, which take 1 to 3 hours to reach our shores. And then we have distant source tsunami, which come from across the Pacific, could be as far as 12 to 15 hours away. And some of those more distant ones are in fact the ones that would be the more destructive and dangerous to us here on the coast.
Yeah, I would have thought, well, of course, being that far away, then we would have more warning.
Yes, that's the bonus side of it.
That's the bonus, but I guess if there is an upside to it, then that's the one.
Probably just to clarify as well, the near source within Pegasus Bay, we don't actually, there's no science to say that we have any faults in Pegasus Bay which would cause a tsunami for us.
Yep.
Not to say that there isn't, but the scientists haven't found any yet.
But one, of course, would need to perhaps consider the Hukarangi subduction zone off the North Island coast, I think, predominantly, isn't it?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah, and that's about 90 minutes.
We'd have, again, a little bit of extra time, but once the warning comes, time to move.
Yes, that's correct, and it's worth noting too that the scientists take anywhere from 7 to 15 minutes to locate an earthquake and just how strong it is, and from there they need to do some quick science to figure out whether or not it may or may not have created a tsunami. So an official warning where we actually know that there could be a tsunami can take anywhere from 20 to 25 minutes right through to almost an hour, which in fact is what happened with the 2016 Huranui Kaikoura quake. It took them a long time to figure out what was happening with the earthquakes.
Absolutely. Well, of course, they didn't know exactly where it was, and as it happens, it was a very broad earthquake that ran pretty much up the length of the upper South Island.
Yeah.
No, very interesting. Well, of course, your your advice there, Allan, is if it's strong or long, get gone. Don't wait for an official warning. Move out of your area and to higher land.
That's correct in the red and the orange zones. Now, if you're in a yellow zone, you do not need to evacuate for a long or a strong earthquake. You would only need to evacuate if you've been officially warned by Civil Defence Emergency Management to leave. So that's the big difference here. And if you're not in a zone at all, then there's no signs to support any tsunami getting to you in a no-zone area.
In a no-zone area. Just be prepared to help those that are evacuating
Absolutely.
from the areas that are needing evacuation. So where can people see the maps of these zones? Are they where are those, Chris?
Yep. So for Waimakariri residents, go to the council website.
Yep.
And it's waimakariri.govt.nz/tsunami, and that will take you to the page with all the information.
With all the information, okay. And for those that are in the Huranui?
So pretty much the same. If you go to the Huranui District Council website, and there'll be links from the front page going in. There's also the ability to go into the Environment Canterbury website onto what they call Canterbury Maps, which is a publicly available web mapping where they can look at the tsunami zone showing on the actual ground itself.
Awesome. Well, look, guys, thank you so much for coming in and sharing the information with us. Very important information for the local region. Allan Griggs, thank you very much, Emergency Management Officer for Huranui District Council, and Chris Field, EMO for the Waimakariri District Council. Thank you for coming in, gentlemen.
Our pleasure.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Compass FM.